In the previous video, I had a slip of the tongue. Sorry for that. At the first, I said that welcome to the first session. Of course, it is not correct, and I should have told you welcome to the fourth session. Okay, we learned about matrices in R, and here you see two functions, rbind and cbind. These functions are used in R programming a lot, but here I took the opportunity to introduce them by connecting them to the concept of matrix, because with rbind and cbind you can create matrix. You can create a matrix, and it's very easy. How you are gonna do that? See, when you see R here, R is for row, and when you see C here, C is for column. Okay, so it is obvious that rbind binding together the rows, and cbind is binding together the columns. So when you are working with rows of the same size or columns of the same size, of course, when you connect them together, a matrix would be formed. For example, here, see, and the interesting point here is the fact that each of them is a vector. That was the reason that I told you, please always keep caught up, because you are gonna have a better experience. See, now I'm just telling you about vectors, and you know about vectors that we talked about them in the previous session. And so you know this syntax, everything. So you have now 3 rows that are in fact 3 vectors, and you use rbind and you bind all of them together. And when you bind all of them together, you get this matrix. Another point is the name of the rows of the matrix is the same as the names of the rows for the vectors. And after that, for the columns, you see 1 and 2. When you bind the columns, of course, the name of the columns of the matrix would be the same as the vectors names, and the name of the rows are 1, 2, and 3. Okay, please do these exercises, do these practices on your R, and make sure you can run them without any problem. I have put these commands that you see here exactly from the R page, and there is no point, so there is no need that I run them again for you in R, so you follow exactly the same thing. But here, my friends, when you see it says rbind row 1, row 2, row 3, since it is not saving the result of this command in any variable, you see the results are printed over here. The same for here. But if you first saved it in another variable, okay, the result wouldn't be printed, similar to the previous cases. Please, please, please feel comfortable to ask if you have any sort of confusion or anything, or you get error regarding your code over there. Just please reach out in that situation quickly. Don't leave your question until next month or before the exam, and you have pile up question, and of course that learning experience not gonna be very nice. Okay, let's go for another function that is again related to matrix. It is dim. Dim is standing for dimension. And so, as you remember regarding the matrix, we said that when you have the data, when you have same data, you can create many matrices out of that same data. For example, you can have, as you remember we talked about, for example, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have, that is the last one. I'm gonna write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so dimension is very important regarding matrices. Regarding a matrix, here the dimension is 1 times 6. 1 row, 6 columns. Here the dimension is 2 times 3. 2 rows and 3 columns. Here 3 times 2. 3 rows, 2 columns. So another things that we can do in creating matrices, and remember this command that we are using are not especially for matrices. You can use them anywhere in our programming that we are gonna practice them together regarding some very interesting problems and challenges as far as time allows us. But here I'm trying to demonstrate them to you based on matrices. So here you create a vector. Again, see how much vector is fundamental data structure in R. You create this vector, the name is max, and here you are saying that what is the dimension of max here? The dimension of max is, as you can see, 1 row and 6 columns. And here it says that I want dimension of max be 3 rows and 2 columns. When you run this line, max is not anymore this 1 times 6 vector. This gonna be, max gonna be something like this, 3 rows and 2 columns. Let me show you this with R better. Okay, as you can see here, I have defined max, this vector, and here I'm saying that I want dimension of max to be this vector, that is 1 row and 6 columns, and after that I want it to print. And I told you you can highlight all of them and run all. So I run them and you see it is the max. It is the output that we expected, 1 row and the rest. Now let's change it. We have max, this is the same, so I'm gonna ask it for 2 rows and 3 columns, and I'm gonna highlight them and run. 2 rows and 3 columns. Let's go for the last one to assure you that when I say some commands are easy and you just need to run them one time, it's really, it is the way. Okay, I'm gonna say 3 rows and 2 columns. So I'm gonna highlight these. And you see I'm creating matrix that way. Okay. Let's go for another function in the field of matrices. Row names and call names. Row and call is column, and they are used to name matrices, rows and columns, because in future you will notice that when we are making our databases, Of course, all the rows need name and all the columns need name, because in that situation we can refer to them. And just let me tell you that not all the databases that we are working on are matrices. Maybe they are tables, but it's just an introduction to the field to get the taste of our programming and the logic we had with it. Okay, the rows and columns of an R matrix can be named after its creation. Okay, so it is the max we created in the previous slide. And if you remember, I made different matrices based on different dimensions, but they were anonymous. They were without name. So here we have the name of, in fact, without name, 1 and 2 we have. So we want to put the name of glory and pride. So you should figure it out yourself that we need these row names. So we put row names of what? Row names of max are equal to this vector. Again, see how much vectors are important, data structure. So you put the first, do you remember we said every element of vector is indexed? It is 1, and what an ugly one. And it is 2. So it goes for the first row and it goes for the second row. So you put row names max, you put glory, pride, and after that, when you print the result that is max, you get this. Make sure you do it on your R. What if we want to name the columns? Okay, the columns you will put col names, open parentheses, put the name of the matrix that you want to name its columns, and after that, but since we have 3 columns, you need to put a vector of size 3 that each one serve as a name for each column. Okay, after these functions that we discussed together, now you are understanding better that why I told you R is simple. It is like Excel, because you see how much it is straightforward. But in future, while we are learning more and more about R, we are going to learn more about structure of a programming language. That when you combine this strong data structure with some strong flowcharts, algorithms, the results would be mind-blowing. Okay, in this slide, we are going to discuss how to access individual component of a matrix. For example, you have this matrix of size 2 by 3, how you can go for the element at the second row and third column. How you can go for the element at the second row and the first column. We are gonna talk about this here. The element of a matrix named mat can be accessed using this command that you see here. So the answer to this question is this. Very simple. You put the name of the matrix, that is, for example, max, or as you can see here, mat. But here you open a brackets, not parentheses, not curly brackets. Okay, the element you want to find is at what row? For example, you say that it is at row 3. Okay, it is at what column? You may say it is at column 5. The result would be printed for you. I'm going to show this for you in R.